Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Nerdy and 30. This is our third episode, but today we got a couple people on it. So it's me, Tony, and
Hey, it's Uncle Jay, Justin. What's going on?
Yo, whoa, what up? It's Ryan.
and today we are talking MCU, if you couldn't tell from the picture on the back of the video.
That's the Marvel Cinematic Universe for everybody.
Just wanted you guys to know we weren't sure if you knew or not.
Just in case you've been living under a rock for the last 10 years, but so today we're going to talk everything MCU just because, Infinity War has been out for a while, but Captain Marvel trailer just came out recently.
Last week, I think.
Which we can also discuss, but we decided that we were going to rank the MCU movies. We were going to give our top 3 overrated movies, our top 3 underrated movies, our best trilogy, and we were also just going to have just a flat-out discussion of what we think is coming out next, how we think Captain Marvel is going to be, how we think Avengers 4, which Mark Ruffalo kind of slipped the title. Did you hear about that?
Yeah, it was called
Annihilation.
Oh, I thought it was called Vote this November.
That's weird. I heard
Endgame. I hope it
is. That's good.
But,
oh shit.
So, I mean, I guess we could start off with the ranking. We're both looking at the list, and
I'm like scrolling up and down a bunch of movies right now. Like some of them aren't even a part of the MCU, but they like still make a big factor in the Marvel universe, like a Logan, for example. And I mean, the MCU is obviously built by Disney currently, the actual full canon versions for the most part. I guess Hulk is a part of that too. We just discussed before we went on air, but I mean, there's a lot of movies that we could actually throw into this if we wanted to, but I think we're gonna stick strictly to the Marvel MCU as Disney, correct?
Right.
Yeah.
So we're going to leave Logan out of this. We're going to leave Venom out of this. Spoiler alert, I haven't seen Venom yet, but I heard it's a mixed boat of
I heard it sucks balls.
Yeah, okay.
I heard it's a rolling turd.
Yeah, but
anyways, yeah, so
so who wants to kick it off?
I'll kick it off with my favorite of all time.
Okay.
And I will say right now that I think everyone will probably agree with me for the most part. I really liked Avengers 3. I think it was great. Infinity Gauntlet, Infinity War.
Yeah.
It was fucking awesome. I love that movie. I love Thanos is a great character. You kind of actually, for the first time in like the MCU, you kind of like click with someone that is of the evil presence, that's someone that isn't supposed to be traditionally someone that you can even sympathize with, but compared to like the comics, Infinity Gauntlet comic series to the movie, it's completely different. And I honestly, I think that was one of the best because it brought all of my favorite heroes to the movie.
See, I mean, we could just work our way backwards.
Yeah, we could honestly do that.
Ryan, where would you put Infinity War?
I mean, personally, maybe I'm just saying this because Infinity War is fresh in my mind, but it's my favorite MCU movie by far. It's brought all of my favorite characters together. Like Justin said, Thanos, I think, is one of the most sympathetic, realistic, and kind of scary ass villains out there. I mean,
terrifying.
He killed pretty much all of our favorite fucking characters.
One of my favorite scenes in that is when they're on Titan. I think it's Iron Man, Spider-Man, Doctor Strange, Thanos, they're on Titan. Thanos shows up. He's like, "What's up, motherfuckers? I need the stone. I need the time stone." I think that's what it's called, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And he delivers this gnarly punch to Iron Man. Probably one of the gnarliest punches I've ever seen in my life. Like, it doesn't even compare anything to like a Mike Tyson punch. It was so powerful and fast.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god.
He does one to Spider-Man too. I actually watched part of it this morning. And that fight's really good. And I was telling you, Ryan, not that long ago, that I think Thor's entrance into Wakanda after he gets Stormbreaker is one of the best movie moments of like the last decade.
It was awesome. I mean, the whole battle in general right there is awesome. Even up to the part where him and Thanos are kind of 1v1ing like the whole time. That was impressive.
For me, Infinity War is not quite as high. I think it would have it like number 5 for me. but it is a solid movie, and I think it's an achievement in filmmaking just for the Russo brothers to be able to put a coherent story together with that many freaking characters is insane. And
It's a very good standalone too.
and
It could be.
Yeah.
Thanos is the best character in the entire film, which for the MCU that's rare because most of their villains stink. But
Yeah.
there's some parts for me that weren't the greatest in the movie that I think it's just because the scope was so grand. I kind of like the smaller scale stories in the MCU a little bit more. But Infinity War was definitely like just a flat out achievement. It was definitely an event to go see. And plus, like the cliffhanger, the one thing that bothered me at the end though is the half the universe that got killed out, spoiler alert, is like all the new heroes, which aren't going to stay dead. I wish they would have mixed it up a little bit. That way maybe some of them don't come back. But like Spider-Man, Doctor Strange, Black Panther are all gone, and Black Panther just made over $1.5 billion.
Well,
He
plus
ain't
they
staying
just
dead.
announced, I think they're doing the second movie right now.
They're
actually working on
filming
it.
the next Spider-Man
So,
movie.
You obviously
so-
know what the fuck's happening.
Yeah, so they're obviously coming back.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, if you read the comics, at the end of Infinity War, nobody dies.
Yeah.
They bring everyone back.
Yeah.
Well, the whole comic
including
book death
Thanos,
thing,
nobody dies.
Yeah.
So, but you don't want. I feel like if they end Avengers 4 with nobody dying, people are going to be pissed. Somebody's got to die. And Chris Evans is retiring from Captain America, so I feel like
he announced
you
on Twitter the other
need
day.
to kill him off.
Yeah. They think they just got done filming 4
Right,
as well.
yeah.
So.
All right, well, I mean, we can't spend too much time on each one, or we're going to be doing this for like 3 hours. So let's go to our number 2. What's your number 2 favorite?
That's actually a pretty hard one. I will say there's a lot of really great movies in the MCU.
I mean, I can give you my top 5 real quick.
Sure, yeah, give it up.
So my number 1 for me is Ragnarok. I think Taika Waititi is an awesome director. If you ever see Hunt for the Wilder People, or and it's a fucking hilarious movie.
Yeah, it is.
And I just love the Planet Hulk thing, but tying into Thor.
Yeah.
It's just a great freaking movie.
Yeah, the World Breaker Hulk.
Yeah,
style,
it was just incredibly entertaining.
That's probably my number 2, I would say.
Number
as well.
2?
Yeah, just because, I mean, it's a really open and shut movie. It's perfect. Like,
yeah.
The way they wrote it, like, the dialogue is, like, so on point in that movie. It's funny.
Jeff Goldblum's in it. How can you not like Jeff Goldblum?
What is he in that?
He's
Eternal or something? I forget what
he
he's
plays an Eternal, but he's the, like,
Or
game
immortal.
master.
Game master.
Yeah, and he's basically, he's immortal, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
They've been around since, like, the beginning
Well,
of
so
time or
is
something like
the
that.
Collector. Him and the Collector are, like, technically brothers, but they're, like, eternal.
Well, they're different races, I think, and they all
Right.
kind of were like the leaders of that race or something. I don't know the actual lore behind it. So anyone that's listening to this,
Well,
leave
it was
a comment
just-
on how stupid I am. But
Korg and Meek are just fucking
Korg is
hilarious.
great. Yeah,
Taika Waititi did the voice for him.
Yeah.
And he said he based it off of, like, an Iranian, like, club bouncer.
I love that shit.
I know how they're huge and intimidating, but they always have like a really
Like a very
soft
small
voice. Yeah.
Hey man, what's up?
I love that.
Hey, we're gonna get on the spaceship and get out of here. Want to come? Ragnarok for me is just fucking amazing, and my second favorite would probably be Winter Soldier. Still think Winter Soldier is a solid movie. You don't like Winter Soldier as much, Ryan.
I thought Winter Soldier was the most overrated MCU movie, and I'm not saying that in a super negative light.
Yeah.
It was an entertaining movie. I liked it. It was good. It was definitely important for the MCU storyline and everything. I just didn't like it as much as the other ones.
But why?
Because I just didn't feel like it had a solid bad guy. Winter Soldier's not really a villain. He's more like... I mean, he wasn't truly evil at heart. He was just misguided and manipulated.
He kind of reminds
bad
me in the
people.
comics as like a Venom figure.
Yeah, he was more like an anti-hero who was on the wrong side.
I don't think Winter Soldier was the bad guy in that movie though.
Well,
The
Winter
bad
Soldier's
guy
kind of like a
was
Spawn.
The bad guy was like Robert Redford's character in Hydra
Yeah.
taking control of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Well,
That
Hydra
was
is
the
the
bad
ultimate
guy.
villain in like that world, basically.
Right.
And Red Skull really is the face of Hydra. That's why, in my own mind, I feel like Red Skull might be the main villain in the new Infinity War.
I can't see him coming back at all.
Really?
If he comes back, I'd be so surprised.
Red Skull, he's had his.
I was even surprised to see him
Well,
being stranded on that.
Oh, no,
planet.
I was
Hugo
too.
Weaving has refused to come back, so that was actually the guy from The Walking Dead doing like an impression of him. So I don't think they're going to do it.
But I
because
feel like why would they put him in there though?
I don't know. Just
I
a
think
cameo.
I think it was honestly just to seal up. At the end of what is that movie? It's a Captain America movie where he basically portals out.
Yeah, the
That was
original
the first one.
Yeah.
They're trying to close that whole thing
Yeah,
up. So
where he went.
He's there forever. I think that the way that that lore works is that he's actually sealed into that world forever.
But is Thanos really the ultimate final bad guy, though? I
No.
mean, is he true?
No,
They're going
I
to keep
mean,
going.
I feel like since they bought a lot of different franchises recently, I guess they own Fantastic Four now.
They're going to soon when they
Yeah.
buy.
That means they're going to own
They're
Galactus.
going to do Galactus.
That
You
is
know?
true.
And Galactus, he's not inherently evil. He's just
True.
he does what he has to do to survive.
eats
He's a
planets.
force of nature.
And technically, I think
He's not a cloud like in the second
like
Fantastic.
Thanos
Oh my
with
God,
like
no.
the full glove. I
Mhm.
feel like is a good fight against Galactus.
Mm-hmm.
But I maybe Thanos wins that. But I feel like Galactus is just a supreme being. Like he's very hard to kill.
That is
you know?
true.
Right.
I'm kind of disappointed with Doctor Strange how they misused Dormammu like that because he could have been a good.
I saw-
He could have been a good big bad.
I saw
agree.
a ranking recently that said that Dormammu is actually stronger than Thanos with the gauntlet.
I believe that.
But Dormammu's not dead. It's just he's stuck in a time loop. Like,
but
for
they kind of
eternity.
ruined him with that movie.
Yeah,
though.
they
I
kinda
would love
did.
to see like an introduction to. I know we're going off on a weird tangent right now, but I would love to see an introduction to Doctor Doom too.
That would
Yeah.
be awesome. Actually,
He's probably one of my favorite characters in Marvel universe.
He is a really good.
Doctor
character.
Doom is probably Doctor Doom is probably my favorite Marvel villain, but
He's incredibly
like
smart.
Red Skull is. I read a lot of Captain American comics, and Red Skull is awesome in the comics. There's one comic I think I told you about is Magneto's new solo comic series that came out a couple of years ago,
Mhm.
and like he goes to this trailer, going off on a big tangent now, but he goes to this trailer park, and like Red Skull is there, like manipulating mutants, and Magneto literally murders Red Skull and like cuts him into a million pieces. It's
Dude, that
freaking
is
awesome.
Magneto, I love Magneto so much.
Yeah.
Magneto's
I
such
can't
a
wait to see how
badass.
they introduce some of these characters into.
He went to a trailer park in that comic, and it was like a scrapyard. So you imagine
Oh,
Magneto
it's so
in a
easy for him.
scrapyard. Yeah, he was just like he went berserk.
It's like a
and
straight
just, like,
playground for him.
Yeah, and it's like Red Skull's
Yeah.
like, oh fuck. But so I mean, we can keep going. My next one, I'll finish up my top 5.
Yeah.
Is Guardians 2.
Yeah, Guardians 2 is awesome.
I
At
love
first,
Guardians
I liked
2.
Guardians 1 better, and you said you liked 2 better, and I thought you were crazy. But the more I watch it, I do like Guardians 2 better.
Guardian 2 is awesome. I mean, Guardian 1
Better
is always
villain.
gonna like hold like a
Oh,
special place
yeah.
in my heart because like that introduction to like Star-Lord and everything, like the way they set that up was so perfect, like with the background of him like his mother dying and stuff like that.
Mhm.
And that was really cool, but like number 2 is I think it's better. I really do too.
Kurt Russell's awesome.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Ego is by far probably my favorite villain in the MCU, more than Thanos. Thanos is like cooler; he's more powerful, I think.
I
But
wouldn't even
Ego,
consider him a villain at this point.
Ego is more evil, though.
There was some really dry humor in that movie too that I loved. Not the outrageous humor, but like I remember when the gold people, they were like flying their ships on like the video game.
Yeah.
And the one guy that he was the last ship left, and everyone guarded around him,
Yeah.
and he ended up dying, and everyone like they were like saying stuff under their breath about how much he sucked. And I was just like, it was hilarious.
Yeah.
That guy's face too.
Right.
Oh,
And
perfect.
Drax has just become like an awesome dry humor.
Yeah, and he's
Like-
actually this is off topic too, but James Gunn was talking about directing the next Suicide Squad movie,
I heard about that.
and Drax was Drax, aka what's his name,
Batista.
was saying, I want to be in this movie. He wants to be in the
Because
new.
him and James Gunn are pretty
They're
tight.
really close, and,
Yeah,
and
I might
on
actually see
Twitter,
that.
He was
on Twitter,
devastated
he
by
said,
the firing.
yeah,
He's
he's stuck up with them, through and throughout. So, I would actually, I'm curious to see what James Gunn does with the DC universe.
Yeah,
I mean,
am too.
If he knows what people like, he's not an idiot. So
But-
we'll see what happens.
They're definitely going to jump that because James Gunn has a specific sense of humor, and the DC films have no sense of humor.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think they're really trying. And I think one thing, I know we're trailing a little bit, but Shazam will be good in my opinion. I think it's going to be awesome. And
Right.
the only reason I say that is because they're taking on a different like style of DC universe. Like the DC universe, from what we've seen so far, has been dark and it needs to be like very evil and like everything is serious. But I think with Shazam, it's taken it in a whole other role where it's like, okay, things can be light. It doesn't have to be like, oh, Batman just his parents are dead and all this other stuff. It can be light, and I think that's what Shazam's trying to do. And that whole universe is actually really cool. If you've read the comics at all, there's like
Mhm.
tons of characters that are like that.
It is possible they could redeem it. I mean, think about MCU. What if they made like 5 different Incredible Hulk movies?
They
Like the
kinda have.
original Incredible Hulk movies.
I mean, I think at this point, Incredible Hulk, the storylines that are with Incredible Hulk from the comic books are actually really, really good. There's a
Mhm.
lot of good stuff, but it takes a lot of CGI. I think the whole movie would literally have to be CGI to make it good.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's something that they're willing to cross right now. I'm sure that it's in development, and I guarantee Disney has a lot of storylines that they've already written, or
Mhm.
like they've worked with directors that have already have stuff already good to go. But I think it's something that they're really, really trying to keep close because they know they can mess it up pretty easily.
Yeah,
Right.
and I mean, Hulk is one of the most beloved characters in superhero comics, and it
Yeah.
took them a while to really refine him and make him you get close to the original storyline that he was.
Yes.
I think Mark Ruffalo's doing a good job, and they got
Yeah.
Hulk in a good way to the point where, like, I don't know. I just remember like the Eric Bana horse crap, and just even Edward Norton. I don't think Edward Norton quite understood who he was playing.
He just didn't.
Like,
guar-
I don't even
guarantee
think he
he's
knew
probably-
what
he
kind
doesn't
of
even know who
movie he
Hulk
was
is.
in.
He probably doesn't even know who Hulk is.
Yeah, and
think so.
Edward
Yeah,
Norton
man.
is a very. I mean, I like his films, but he seems like a very cocky person.
Yeah, he
And
does.
I just don't think he understood. Well, the MCU was brand new at that point. Incredible Hulk was only the second movie in the MCU.
Yeah.
So it wasn't even an MCU. It was just Iron Man. So I don't even think he understood, like, what kind of movie he was supposed to be in.
Well, he didn't. There was a bigger picture there that he didn't see.
Yeah,
Exactly.
and Eric Bana's movie, The Hulk, we actually saw it in the theater together, if you remember, way back when.
Yeah, I did.
But Ang
This
Lee,
was back in like 2004, by the way.
right? And Ang Lee directed that, and Ang Lee's a fantastic director. But that movie's shit because I think Ang Lee was trying to get artsy with it and creative with it, and it was just he didn't really understand comics because like his transitions in that movie were like comic panels, and
Yeah.
it's like it's not literally a comic book
Yeah,
movie.
he didn't get
It's
it.
a movie based on a comic book.
Yeah.
It's not an actual comic book movie, but I don't know. We're trailing off, but I don't
It
know.
happens.
I don't know. This ranking doesn't.
So Iron Man 3 is your next favorite,
No,
right?
my next.
all-time favorite.
So if I had to go to number 6, I'm thinking. See, I feel like this ranking is going to be hard, but like, I mean, I could just finish out my top list really quick.
yeah, go.
And maybe you just finish off yours, and Ryan, you finish off yours, and maybe we'll just discuss. But 6, I'd probably go Civil War.
That was probably gonna be my third, actually.
My 7th would probably be the original Avengers. 8 would probably be Guardians 1. 9 would probably be Ant-Man. I'm just spitballing here. 10's probably like Iron Man, or Iron Man would probably be ahead of Ant-Man. So 11 probably be, I don't know. We're probably talking like Thor 1 and so on and so forth. But I don't know. I mean, I feel like it'd be easier for us to discuss like we discuss like our bet. We kind of agree what the best films in the MCU are. So
Yeah.
maybe let's talk about what we agree as the worst films in the MCU. What's your worst film?
Worst film, I'd say. I'm not a fan of any of the Thor series besides Ragnarok for the most part. Mostly because I mean I love Thor as a character in the comics, like and actually in the MCU too. I think Thor is an awesome character. I think he's better with other people. I
Yeah.
think Thor, like alone, the way they portrayed him originally was very teeny bopper in a way. Like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm in love. You know, it's like
didn't-
fuck that shit.
he
Don't
didn't-
never be in love.
He
You're
didn't
Thor.
he didn't become like sarcastic until Ragnarok.
Yeah, and honestly, Ragnarok changed my mind with Thor. The actual just that alone, that series alone. I think other than that, the worst. It's really hard to say. The early Iron Mans aren't really great. I think Iron Man 2 is probably the one I really don't like. Iron Man 1 was awesome though.
Iron Man 1 is
and
awesome.
I guess
It was.
you know since we talked about it earlier, but since the MCU is so new, I guess the Incredible Hulk.
Yeah. I
Mostly
agree.
because I mean, honestly, they portrayed the Hulk how he should have been, like just a maniac and crazy. But like everything else around that, the CGI was the best actor in the whole movie. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like everything else, like I want to see the Hulk if he has a by himself movie like that, like they did with the Incredible Hulk, where he's just basically a maniac and does whatever he wants. I want it to be that the whole time. I want there to be very little plot line besides him just being crazy and them like doing
and
something where they
enough
try and
of
banish.
like I feel like Homecoming, Spider-Man Homecoming, kind of didn't treat the audience like we were stupid anymore. They were like, okay, we get it. You know, he got bit by a spider, and that's it. They didn't have to go through his origin anymore. It's like, how many times we got to see Hulk's origin?
Yeah.
We get it. Everyone knows that there was a TV show. You should just start
Same
off
with Batman though too. You know they do that a lot.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
they really
even in
do.
freaking Batman vs Superman, they had to do it again, and it's
like,
like,
we get
we
it.
get it.
Like it's honestly, I'm having PTSD from watching it so many times.
Yeah,
to be
it's
honest.
like-
I'm like,
How
oh, no,
How many
again.
times do we have to see Batman's parents die?
See, with
Haven't
Uncle
we
Ben,
had
it's like,
enough?
I don't want to see
Right.
Uncle Ben die anymore.
No more,
it makes me
please.
feel terrible.
Well, Spider-Man 3 ruined that original. Not to go to those movies, but like I remember in Spider-Man 1, Uncle Ben died, and it was good because it was the first time we saw it. And then Spider-Man 3, they're like, turns out Sandman killed Uncle Ben.
No way.
Yeah.
Oh
Sandman
my
was
God.
actually- and Sandman is one of my favorite villains too.
Really?
Yes.
He was such a
Spider-Man
lame
villain-
fucking villain.
Spider-Man villains are awesome.
Well, they are.
They
in, like,
are.
the
Like
Like
comics.
Rhino and stuff. Like I love that.
Second best rogues gallery, only to Batman.
Yeah.
And,
Oh no, I absolutely agree. But like the Rhino in the Amazing Spider-Man 2 was the worst fucking
Terrible.
thing ever. Paul Giamatti was hamming it up like
Yeah, big
to the
time,
max.
dude. In the
he
comics,
was
dude-
Nicolas Caging it.
In the comics, Rhino is so awesome. And who's the doctor that turns into a lizard? I forget his name. Why am I forgetting this?
Dr.
right now?
Lizard?
No, he was in Amazing Spider-Man 1.
But he's an awesome villain
Oh,
too.
Connors.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't.
But Spider-Man: Homecoming, I was actually going to say, is probably my third or fourth favorite MCU movie.
Yeah,
Mostly
no,
because
I
Spider-Man's
forgot
probably
about
one of
that.
my favorite characters in general.
For me, the worst movies in the MCU are the number one worst movie for me is Iron Man 3.
Well, you're not that big of a fan of Doctor Strange movies either, right?
No, Doctor Strange movie. I mean, now we're kind of getting into our overrated, underrated segment, but like for me, the worst movie is probably Iron Man 3. Shane Black, who just tanked with this new Predator movie that sucked balls,
I didn't
and
see it. I heard it's bad though.
probably I don't think I wasn't a fan of Doctor Strange, but I don't think it's one of the worst. But like it'd probably be like Thor: Dark World and Iron Man 3 and Incredible Hulk, like you said, and maybe Age of Ultron. But for me, Iron Man 3 is probably the worst, and the reason why is I understand there were some dramatic moments in there, and there were some cool moments in that movie, but there's so much of that movie didn't make sense, and so much of it ruined it. He almost pulled a Ryan Johnson in Last Jedi. Like, he was like, gotcha, because in Iron Man 1, when he got captured in Afghanistan, they were, like, setting up was it the 10 Rings back then as the terrorist organization in Afghanistan, and then turns out it was just Killian and there was an actor playing it, and it's like, but who was the terrorist organization, the first one then? They were supposed to be the 10 Rings, and it's like, I understand the Mandarin in the comics, he was from China or whatever, and an alien spaceship lands, and he gets his power from the rings from an alien spaceship, and that's how he gets it. But I understand that might not be realistic for the MCU, but it was like they were just spitting in the face of comic book fans, which I get. They want to do something different and stuff, but it didn't make sense. You were building up to it, and Killian in the comics is just a dude, and then he turned into like a T-1000 at the end. Oh, he's like melting people and like breathing fire like he was a dragon.
Damn.
Yeah, I was just like, what the
Holy
fuck
shit.
is going on? And then the whole at the end of the movie, Tony Stark had this fleet of Iron Man suits that was helping fight those guys.
Yeah.
Well, at the beginning of the movie, he told the terrorist organization where he lived. Where was the fleet of Iron Mans to protect his house?
Yeah.
It was just one helicopter off the coast. The fleet of Iron Man should have detected him and went out and destroyed the helicopter.
That is kind of a plot hole.
It's a huge plot hole. It's so stupid. I don't know.
Makes no sense.
Anyways, so what's your worst?
Well, first of all, with Iron Man 3, I will say, I think it's a good idea with Mandarin now that I think about it, because he's kind of an outdated supervillain. Like, he really
but
is
you could
kind
do
of
something
like
different with him.
he's kind of just a stereotype of, like, he's like...
I feel like all the villains in Iron Man comics were never that cool.
No,
That is
has,
true.
He has terrible villains.
Yeah.
Warmonger is probably his best villain, and Jeff Bridges actually did a decent job with him, but Whiplash probably second best. So by Iron Man
Yeah.
3, it was like, who do we use?
Yeah, they're like
Right.
shit. Well,
Mandarin's his most famous, but yeah, it's outdated.
That is true. Iron Man villains are kind of weak.
And
But
Mandarin had like a Fu Manchu mustache in the comics, and it was like, I don't know.
Yeah. I would probably have to say my most overrated movie is Black Panther by far.
Well, wait, what's your worst movie first?
Oh, my
Worst couple. I mean, we were talking about, and then we'll get to overrated, underrated.
I'm just gonna go out with Doctor Strange. I think
Is the worst?
Yeah.
Oh.
Worst MCU movie by far.
Just a side note, me and Ryan saw it in the theater, and I fell asleep. Now, my son was really young at the time, but Ryan woke me up. I looked at the screen, and I went back to sleep. So that should tell you something about the movie. Like I chose to go to sleep. Anyways, I watched it later.
Must have been a really long day.
Yeah. Well, we saw a late show, too.
We really did.
It was like 11 o'clock at night, and I
Oh,
was just
God.
like, it's like this movie sucks balls, too. But anyways,
It was easily the least funny of all the MCU movies, which is weird, and it's probably the most confusing.
he's a douchebag, too.
Yeah, he kind of
I
is.
think that's his like wizard like ways though, like where
Yeah.
it's like wizard. I call him a wizard because Thor calls him a wizard.
Oh,
But-
He kind of is. A wizard.
That's his kind of his ways, and I think he mostly. I'm not defending him by any means, but like his style, I think is due to him trying to protect the stone, where he has to be very like cold and like weird like that.
Yeah,
But yeah, I kind of agree with you on that. Like Doctor Strange was like a boring ass fucking movie.
it really was. I liked him way better in Infinity War than I actually liked him in his own
Dude,
standalone
the
movie.
scene of him in Thanos fighting on Titan is insane.
Yes.
I'm like, whoa, dude, this is awesome.
Where he splits into like 500 people.
Yeah, that
and-
was so cool. And I love the face like Thanos makes. It was very like confused, like, what the hell?
What the fuck?
Like, this is weird.
Tricks wizard.
Yeah.
Well, Thanos calls him a wizard, too.
Yeah, and I love that, yeah. It's basically people that are omnipotent.
Yeah.
Call him a wizard.
Yeah.
I can't say that freaking word.
I know I was seeing something online where it was like a running joke in Infinity War where you just call somebody something that they're not. Like,
Yeah.
just make fun of their name.
Calls
Like,
him a Rocket Raccoon, a bunny, or whatever.
A bunny.
Yeah.
What they call Thanos Grimace.
Yeah. Or,
Yeah, that's actually perfect.
and then he
That
said,
is.
meet my new friend Tree, and, just stuff like that. But,
yeah.
all right, well, I guess you can kick off overrated then.
Overrated.
Just a couple overrated, a couple underrated.
What I'm gonna say is totally blasphemous, but I think Winter Soldier was overrated.
See, I couldn't disagree with you more.
I
I think the action, the Russo brothers directed that. That was their first MCU movie. I think the action was so real, and that didn't even come out to me as like a comic book movie. It was almost like a spy thriller, which I absolutely loved.
Well, I think that's how they set up Captain America movies in general.
Yeah,
They
and
that
set
was
it
the
up
only-
as like that
they-
style.
They couldn't do Captain America like in the comics because it'd be too goofy and and people are too jaded nowadays.
Yeah.
It's not 1945 where yay, USA. It's like everything, Captain America. Just because his name's Captain America, Captain America is supposed to stand for good. Doesn't matter if it's America or not.
Yeah.
I don't know, Ryan. I thought the action scenes were fantastic in Winter Soldier.
Oh
Some
no,
of
the
best
action
I've seen.
scenes were great. It's a good movie. I definitely like it. I just don't like it as much as everybody keeps saying it is.
Okay. I feel you.
Yeah.
And,
I just-
another one.
Maybe I'm just picky. Another one that's really overrated besides Black Panther and Winter Soldier. I think I pretty much got all three of them: Winter Soldier, Doctor Strange, and Black Panther.
Me and Justin discussed at length Black Panther in our first
we did
episode.
a hard
of the podcast.
discussion there.
Yeah,
and
so-
I actually started liking Black Panther the third time I watched it.
I liked it more. I mean, if I had to discuss my overrated, I still think Black Panther's in my overrated.
It's probably mine too.
But I like it more the second time I watched it, but it's still overrated. My other overrated movies, I think my other overrated movies, I think Doctor Strange is overrated as well. I think Black Panther's overrated, and I think Iron Man 3 is overrated. I just said it was the worst one in the MCU, but everyone's always saying too, Shane Black directed it. There were some fantastic moments in there. Everyone always talks about the scene where Tony Stark flew to the bar in a suit,
Yeah.
and then it was standing outside in the parking lot, and you just walked up and get
That's
in
actually
it.
kind of cool.
It was a cool scene, but like people talk about, they're like, oh, only comic book geeks are upset of the fact that Mandarin's not a real hero. Normal people that saw the movie were okay with the twist, and it was still a good movie. And I'm like, no, it was incredibly overrated. I don't know. What about you?
Age of Ultron. I think
Yeah.
a lot of people actually think it's a crappy movie already, and I kind of agree with them. I think Ultron is an actual really cool character in the comic books, but I think the way that he was easily kind of taken down. I mean,
It was Age of Ultron. It was like 3 days.
yeah, the Age of Ultron.
That's
Like,
quick age.
When someone says an age of something, I'm like, oh, that must have been like 50 years, right?
Yeah.
Or like
Right.
minimum. You know?
Right.
But yeah, like Ultron wasn't a fan, but people really like the Avengers for some reason. I mean, the only Avengers movie that I really click with is Infinity War. The first one I really liked too because it was kind of an introduction to like that team or that squad or whatever.
Mhm.
Dark World sucked. I guess Iron Man 3 is not great. Iron Man 2 was okay.
It's okay.
Yeah.
You can kind of tell like I mean Iron Man in general by himself I think it's better.
I actually like a few things in Iron Man 2. Like, um, what's his face is Justin Hammer. He just won an Oscar.
Yeah.
You know
What's
what
his
I'm talking
character,
about? He
though?
was
You
in
know,
Moon.
they brought him back in
Yeah.
the Netflix TV shows, actually.
Yeah, Justin Hammer. I liked him.
Oh, don't even get me on the Netflix shows. Like I would actually put some of those over the movies.
And-
Oh, yeah,
yeah,
by far,
most definitely.
by far.
Yeah.
And I actually didn't mind Mickey Rourke as Whiplash that much. I think it was a little weird, his bird thing, and it was kind of dumb. But
I really respect Mickey Rourke in general as an actor.
he's crazy.
He's a maniac, yeah, and his whole life is insane. We won't even get into that. That's a
Yeah.
whole other podcast. But
Yeah.
we could do a podcast on maniacs that are still in acting. But yeah, I think honestly, when it comes to the MCU, I'm not really one to like say like, okay, this movie is like super shitty or it's overrated because I feel like they all kind of play a part. Especially like you really get a gist of that when you watch like the last Avengers movie. You're like, wow, okay, they all do kind of play a part. It's fun to see.
They
them
all do,
together.
yeah.
Yeah.
Infinity
Yeah.
War really
And that's
tied them all together.
Yeah, and that's kind of how it is with the comics too. Like we're all big fans of comics, like, and we see like there's some characters in comics I'm just like don't really care too much about. Like I would never
Right.
buy an Iron Man comic for the most part, but I respect the guy. you know
Iron
what
Man
I mean?
comics kind of suck.
Yeah, they're just not exciting.
I have
you
a
know?
few, yeah.
But
they're
Black
kinda
Panther
boring.
comics on the
He's
other
an
hand are really
alcoholic,
awesome.
and we get it.
Yeah, we get it. But yeah, like Hulk as well. Like I love the Hulk comics. I think they're awesome because there's so many different Hulks. They're all some of them are the same people, some of them aren't. But when it comes to like movies, yeah, it's hard to tell. Overrated's like a hard one for me. I guess.
What
I
about
hate-
Under? You want to kick off Under?
underrated?
What do you think is really good that most people don't talk about?
Oh, most people don't talk about. That's a hard one because most people talk about all of them.
See, I can kick off Underrated.
Yeah, go ahead.
One of the ones that I think that people badmouth, and it's only because Edgar Wright was set to direct it, but he essentially got fired or quit because of creative differences, was Ant-Man. I think
Yeah.
Edgar Wright's Ant-Man would have been better, yes, but I think Ant-Man still turned out all right. It was an entertaining little heist film. The plot was a little small. It was funny. Michael Pena was hilarious.
Well, the cast is awesome in that
Paul
movie.
Rudd was good. Yeah,
The cast is like full of comedians. And it's
Yeah.
great.
and like even Michael Douglas, like I like how they didn't go with the original Ant-Man, with Hank Pym like
Yeah.
in the 80s. I like how they went with a different one. Hank Pym was like the mentor, the Qui-Gon Jinn, the whatever.
Yeah.
I thought Ant-Man was a good movie, and people like completely dismiss it. I mean, it got its sequel, I guess,
I
but
think it's because they really didn't push it as hard as like what they did with the bigger names.
Right.
Like when someone sees a Thor, they're like, okay, it's Thor, awesome. And not a lot of people knew about people that don't know comics don't know much about Ant-Man. To be
That
honest.
is true.
I don't know that much about
I
Ant-Man.
didn't
I mean,
either.
He plays a big role in like Infinity Gauntlet and stuff. Like
I've
that.
I've never read an Ant-Man comic like on its own. Like I've seen Ant-Man in a bunch of other comics I've read, like
Yeah,
team
Infinity
ups
Gauntlet,
and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I've never read. I have one at home, but I've never read it.
I like the role that they gave, or they made for the MCU for Ant-Man. I like where they made it kind of like he's a funny character. He's a smart
Right.
guy. He has a cool power. And the whole supporting cast is awesome, in my opinion.
Yeah.
That is very underrated.
Friggin' T.I.'s in it.
Yeah, T.I.'s in that shit, dude. Rubber Band Man, boing.
Even though it was like a complete in your face product placement, the Dairy Queen thing was actually pretty funny.
Yeah.
It's like if you
love product placement, though.
if you want to take one of those blasts on the way out, I'm not gonna look. Like, Dairy Queen always finds out, man. Was it Dairy Queen? I don't even remember.
I think it was.
I think it was Dairy Queen.
Another movie that I could say is underrated. Now you were just saying you didn't like it. The first Thor and the first Captain America. The first Captain America is getting a little bit more love lately, but I think that's a solid movie. But the first Thor, I understand Kenneth Branagh is like a classical director and he does like Shakespearean plays, and you can see that in the film, the way he shot it. There were way too many Dutch angles for no fucking reason.
Dude, and
do you know what a Dutch angle is?
Nah.
Where the camera is twisted, at an angle for no reason,
Huh.
and it's usually at a lower angle. So a lot of that was dumb, but I felt like Anthony Hopkins did his best Odin in the first one. And there was more drama with Loki in the first one. Like, I feel like Anthony Hopkins completely mailed in his Odin, like, later on.
Yeah.
Like, in Ragnarok, he was just like, oh, do I have to be here? It's like, oh, it's in my contract? Shit, I'm going back to bed now. Because he's like 90.
Just remember in Thor 1, he had blonde eyebrows
and
super blonde hair and a blonde beard.
They dyed his
They dyed everything.
Yeah.
I would never I every time I think of Thor, I think of that, and I wish we could pull up a picture and show it on the stream right now because it's so scary. But yeah, that part really irks me out.
Yeah, I don't know, Ryan. What about your underrated?
Underrated. Well, you already kicked off Thor. Let's see. Underrated. I know you guys don't.
That is weird.
That really is weird.
I didn't notice that in a long time.
Yeah, it's like terrifying.
It does not look natural. It looks. Oh my god.
Right. We may impose some pictures for you guys on the podcast, but yeah, it's terrifying. Like it looks like they do it minutes before he goes on screen.
It looks like he's the bad guy of the movie.
Doesn't even look dyed like they airbrush it.
Yeah, it looks absolutely terrible. That looks even worse, actually. But
yeah,
you guys are missing this right now, but it's pretty bad. But one thing Thor does have going for him is his thick ass arms.
Yeah, Chris Hemsworth's a beast, but he's also funny as hell. Like, not to get off topic, but an underrated thing in the MCU tie-in is Thor's little skits with his roommate. What's his roommate, Dale or whatever, in Australia?
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Where he's like. Oh, it's on YouTube where he's putting Thormir in a drawer and he has to get a job because he's got to pay rent or whatever, and he's having his roommate send Tony Stark an email at his work or whatever. It's funny as hell. You've never seen those?
I don't think so.
No. Oh, those are funny. But anyways, Ryan, go ahead.
Another underrated movie. I know you guys hate it. I liked Age of Ultron actually. I didn't think it was that bad.
One part in Age of Ultron I absolutely freaking love, and it's one part of Black Panther I absolutely love, is freaking Claw.
Yeah.
Is what's it? Andy Serkis's Claw.
Yeah.
Even though he's not South African, I love his South African accent, and he was completely off the wall.
He's one of my favorite actors in the freaking Black Panther movie.
Yeah, he was great, and he was pretty good in Age of Ultron until Ultron ripped his arm off.
Yeah.
God, that would suck. So
I kind of like the nice feel to Ultron. He didn't have a super robotic kind of feel. I thought they were gonna make him a really kind of
he was somewhat sentient,
almost Terminator
the
kind of vibe to it.
So I agree and disagree with you there. So I agree with you in that if they would have made him like a Terminator, it wouldn't have been as compelling of a villain. But then at the same time, Age of Ultron is wisecracking jokes in the movie, and how intimidating of a robot villain that's out for world domination can you be if you're fucking being sarcastic and making wisecracking jokes?
Yeah.
It's weird.
That's true. That's kind of like an MCU vibe, but they kind of
he ripped off Claw's arm and he was like, "Oh, I'm so sorry, put that back." And it's I don't want him to. I don't know. Maybe I wanted to be like Arnold Schwarzenegger's Terminator, just fucking destroy everything.
I mean, they definitely could have done a better job with Ultron. That's one of the criticisms I would have of the movie is that he had a lot of potential as a villain. He wasn't as good as he could have been, but he was still better than whoever the bad guy in Doctor Strange was.
Dormammu, you were just talking
No,
about.
not that guy. The other one.
Oh, so
The one with the crazy
Caecilius.
eyes. Yeah,
Caecilius.
I don't even remember his name. He
I
was
do.
better than that
And I
one.
fucking slept through that movie. So. All right. Well. So next, let's talk about. But I mean, I got a little surprised topic at the end of this. We're gonna be talking Marvel TV shows because the Netflix Marvel TV shows are actually tied into the MCU. They do mention,
they're canon.
so they are canon. So we'll talk about those in a minute. But favorite trilogy? There's 4 trilogies to choose from: Iron Man, Thor, Captain America, and Avengers.
Avengers.
Avengers, yeah, same.
See, I'm going Captain America.
Well, we already knew that.
But like, you got Civil War, Winter Soldier, and the first Cap.
Civil War is fucking awesome.
Yeah.
It is a solid movie.
Yeah.
In Avengers, you got one bad movie. Maybe you don't think it's bad. And Cap, I don't think you have any bad movie. You have an average movie in the first one, and then 2 great movies. Avengers, you got 2 great movies and a bad one, so it's close.
Right.
So,
I mean, technically, there's going to be 4 Avengers movies, so you can actually write out Age of Ultron. You have the
by
option.
choice.
You have the option to do that.
It never happened. I don't know where Vision
but where
came
would Vision
from.
be?
But,
Yeah, where would Vision
It's like
be?
a side story.
Yeah. All right. Well, so let's talk about the Netflix shows. First off, I mean, we've never even discussed this pre-show. So, what shows have you seen, and what shows haven't you seen?
I've only watched Luke Cage season 1 and Daredevil. I didn't watch Punisher at all yet.
Both seasons of Daredevil?
No, just the first one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you've only seen 2 seasons of the shows.
Yeah.
Okay.
One season.
Ryan,
each.
have you seen? What haven't you seen? Because I know me and you have seen a lot.
The only thing on Netflix I haven't seen so far is Jessica Jones Season 2 and Iron Fist Season 2.
You saw Luke Cage season 2?
Yeah.
Oh, see, I haven't seen Luke Cage season 2, Jessica Jones season 2, and Iron Fist season 2. But I've seen all the season 1s and season 2 of Daredevil. So, Justin, maybe this topic might not be as much for you, but
I'll be over here.
yeah. But what? I mean, you can still tell us your favorite. But what's your favorite? What's the best?
Should I say who's the hottest?
Who's the hottest?
Jessica Jones.
She is pretty hot.
Well,
she is really hot.
I'm only going
I
to
won't
say
lie.
this because we've talked about this. She looks just like one of your ex-girlfriends.
She does, yeah.
Just
Like, pretty much
like
just
it's
like
almost creepy.
Yeah.
What's her name? Ritter?
Yeah, no. Kristen Ritter.
Kristen Ritter, yeah. She looks identical to one of your exes.
Pretty much exactly.
So I knew you were going to say that,
yeah.
but so what's your favorite, Ryan? I mean, you can answer this too, Justin, but
I'm gonna have to go with Daredevil.
Daredevil's
which
really
season?
cool.
What's your favorite season out of any of the shows?
So far, I actually would have to go with Daredevil Season 1.
I think Daredevil season 1 is 1. I'd probably have Punisher season 1 2.
Yeah, Punisher Season 1 was pretty solid, honestly.
Daredevil season 2 3rd. I'd probably have Luke Cage season 1 4th. Jessica Jones season 1 5th, and Iron Fist season 1 6th. But I haven't seen the season 2s of any of those. Iron Fist season 1 was absolute fucking garbage.
Not
so stupid. He is not a likable character. He's not a good fighter, even though he's supposed to be the greatest martial artist.
He's
in
not
the
a good
world.
actor either.
And Daredevil's a better martial artist than him. He beats his ass. And and the Defenders. We haven't even talked about the Defenders, but
which is all of them, right?
Yeah, it's all of them. But Daredevil season 3 is coming out in like a week. I actually think it might come out today. I'm not sure about that, but
I need to catch up.
Daredevil season 3 supposedly Bullseye is going to be in it.
Bullseye, really?
Yeah.
Cool.
I'm pretty hyped for Daredevil Season 3, honestly.
I don't think it's out today. I think it's out like next week or something. But it should be good. Charlie Cox as Daredevil is awesome. He's perfect as Daredevil. So I don't know. Luke Cage was kind of boring, and so was Jessica Jones.
Yeah, I'd like Luke Cage first season. It was just more of like a dramatic thing, though. He's not really beating ass like I want him to.
Right. I thought Luke Cage season 2 was pretty cool, actually.
Really?
They had a lot more characters. They really.
Wasn't the bad guy like Haitian or something?
He wasn't really.
Jamaican or
He
something?
was more like a rival character, like a Goku and Vegeta kind of thing, or
Oh.
like a Spider-Man and a Venom kind of thing.
Mm.
Really, Mariah, she's kind of like an evil Oprah to me, honestly. And
Yeah,
she
kinda.
honestly,
Yeah, she's
she has
super
the
evil.
best like of all the Netflix villains so far. I think she has the best evolution. Like her and Luke Cage's like whatever hero villain kind of rivalry. It almost becomes like a Joker and Batman rivalry, and I think that's pretty cool.
I don't know. I was
honestly.
kind of pissed in Luke Cage season 1 because Cottonmouth was an awesome villain.
Mhm.
In
And
the
they
comics,
just-
he's awesome.
Yeah, and they just killed him off in like episode 5 or whatever. I was just like, oh, that's a bummer because he was a really good villain.
Well, he makes it throughout the whole season.
No, he
Yeah.
doesn't.
I think so. Cottonmouth?
No, he got killed in
about
like
a good half the season.
not even.
But
Really?
I think Mariah
It's like
really
episode
won up
4 or
some.
5. Yeah, but then it's the like Puerto Rican guy that's like Mariah's right hand man or whatever.
Shades.
Shades, yeah.
Dude,
Yeah.
Shades is scary, dude.
Yeah.
That guy creeped me out like the whole season.
He's been in another show. I can't think of it, but I don't know.
I could see him being a prisoner in like tons of movies, to
Right.
be honest, or tons of
Definitely.
TV shows.
I think the one that nobody talks about is Punisher season 1. I thought Punisher season 1, people said it was slow, but I absolutely loved it. It really delved into PTSD, and then
Mhm.
like the end of the show, and then like government conspiracies, and the end of the show was just balls out action. And John Burstnell was born to play the Punisher.
Oh yeah.
By far the best
Dude,
Punisher
absolutely.
ever.
Yeah. I like that actor a lot. He was in
Walking Dead.
Walking Dead. Yeah, he's been in a lot
He's
of
been in a
shit.
ton of movies too.
He's just a cool guy. Like I think he fits in that role because he reminds me of a good psychopathic like guy who has like some
And a lot of people think
he has
like,
some issues, you know.
he's
Yeah.
really big into like backing the military and stuff like that. And a lot of people think based on the characters he plays that he was like in the military, but I don't think he was. He's like a theater geek.
I think he's just like a really ripped theater guy.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean he's big into like I see on his Instagram and stuff, and he's really big into backing the military, but like he was never in it. But he could have family members or whatever. But
Yeah.
the MCU shows are more solid than they aren't. But some of the shows just drag on too long.
Yeah.
They could cut the episodes in half.
Well, Luke Cage is a good example of that. Like sometimes it's just like a whole episode of just dialogue and then a cliffhanger at the end. You're like, okay, that,
13 episodes is too. Like the Defenders was only 8 episodes. I feel like that was perfect. It doesn't
feel
need
like-
to be 13.
you know, they do that with music nowadays too. Like I think things should be shorter. I think like with the amount of like content that's out there, they need to like really start consolidating episodes and stuff like that. And I mean, I'm an anime geek. I like anime a lot, and like there are a lot of
Fillers.
there's tons of filler episodes, and I
Yeah.
think that's something that like a lot of companies are starting to get away from, including anime and all the other shit. But
We talk about my favorite anime, Gundam Wing.
Gundam Wing's
And
badass.
there are multiple episodes. Gundam Wing only had one season, it was 49 episodes. And they had multiple episodes in just that season that were literally like flashbacks.
It's basically like a movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
It's
yeah,
like a
there's
filler
so much
flashback
dialogue,
episode.
dude. Like, I think that's something that, like, I know it's really important to build characters and build, the story and stuff like that. But like, there's ways to do that without having like a whole episode of like talking about how much they hate somebody.
Oh, absolutely.
I think that's something they're working on though, and I
Right.
think like Luke Cage is like an example of what you probably shouldn't do the first season. Like I liked it a lot, but it was like a lot of like, all right, Cottonmouth's back out of prison, like this and this and that. It's like, let's get to the fucking punching people in the face.
Right.
actually.
Yeah.
Well, I heard Iron Fist, you said Luke Cage 2 was good. I heard Iron Fist 2 was better, even though it probably wasn't that hard to get better. But I heard Jessica Jones season 2 was actually pretty good. So they probably are getting better, yeah. So, yeah. All right. Well, that's pretty good. I mean, do we have any final thoughts on the MCU, and then maybe like what we're looking forward to with Captain Marvel coming out and Avengers 4 coming out, when we think it's going
So I wanted to bring this up. This is kind of an after conversation. Black Widow has her own movie coming out pretty soon.
Is it like for sure a
She
thing
signed
now?
down like a $13 million deal or something like that.
Really? Because we
Yeah.
were talking about that like back in our first podcast. Like,
Yeah,
is
and
she
I
ever
can
gonna?
see it being kind of cool if it's like a spy style thing because like her
They
character
turned into like a Winter Soldier type deal.
yeah, and I
'Cause
think
she
that
was
would be
good
really
in Winter
cool.
Soldier.
And I wanted to bring that up tonight because I really feel like the way that I mean a lot of characters that we already know are going to be retiring after Avengers 4.
Right.
So where are they going to go from here, kind of thing? And I think that's their first approach. Like, okay, Black Widow, we're going to give you a movie. What are we going to do with that? Can we make it like a Mission Impossible style thing? That'd be cool.
That'd be freaking awesome.
That'd be awesome.
I'd watch that.
As long as I don't see like a bomb detonating in someone's head and their eyes squirk out real quick, like in Mission
Right.
Impossible, like 4 or whatever that was. That shit freaked me the fuck out, and it still does.
Yeah.
Like I think that
I
would
think
be
that
cool.
was 3. I remember
It might have been
that.
3. Yeah, that was scary.
Yeah.
Anyway, when they're on the helicopter, their eyes go. Bleak!
Yeah.
That's terrifying. Anyway, I think. There's a lot of room for characters to develop. I know you guys see Scarlet Witch on the screen right now. I feel like that would be a really cool side movie because Scarlet Witch in the comics is incredibly strong. She's one of the strongest characters in the MCU, period. So it would really be cool to see her developed a little bit. Other than that, I don't really know where they want to go. It's going to be really weird.
I got one problem. I mean, I'm more curious with Captain Marvel more than excited, and then Avengers 4 is going to be awesome, but depending on how they do it. But the merger with Fox, how are they going to bring Fantastic Four in? How are they going to bring the X-Men in? How are they going to say these are mutants? Because Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver, who's dead, are technically mutants, A, and B, they're the son and daughter of Magneto.
Yeah,
so
one of the strongest characters in the MCU.
Yeah, so how are they going to play that in? And
they'll figure it out. I'm pretty sure, but they have to relate it to that, or it's going to be completely fucked.
Well, and Chris Evans is retiring, so he's done after Avengers 4. They can't afford Robert Downey Jr. anymore, so he's going to be done. But I really hope. I know they only did trilogies and all, and they really stopped at Iron Man 3 because that was a long time ago, but I really hope they don't end Thor with Ragnarok because they need to keep going. Ragnarok was awesome, and they had more to tell with Thor. You can tell with Captain America and with Iron Man, their stories were kind of done. Steve Rogers dies all the time in the comics, and Iron Man just doesn't have a lot of interesting things to tell. Yeah. But Thor, there's so much more that they could go with Thor.
Well, Thor, his like catalog of like possibilities is pretty much endless. Same with like his like duos with Hulk. They like Ragnarok. I know they kind of touched on a lot of that, but there's so many different like storylines they could pull upon from Hulk and Thor alone, like together. Anyone that's in like, I mean, obviously they're going to do another Black Panther movie because it was so successful. One, plus he's a pretty diverse character in the comics. They could do a lot of things.
Spider-Man movies coming out.
Spider-Man's going to continue to be great.
And Jake Gyllenhaal as Mysterio.
Yeah,
that might be freaking awesome.
I saw I think it was like change.org. This like people were basically saying if we can get 25, how many votes can we get for Jake Gyllenhaal to be a pizza man in the next Spider-Man movie? It was something like that. Or no, it was Tobey Maguire or something like that.
That would be great.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Wanted him to be it was Tobey Maguire. They wanted him to be a pizza delivery man in the next Spider-Man movie.
God,
I think it had like 100,000 like signatures or something like that.
I just want
this pizza's really overrated.
Like, I don't know. Maybe I'm nostalgic for the old Spider-Man movie. Spider-Man 3 isn't as bad as people remember, but it's still not a good movie. But Spider-Man 1 and 2, especially 2, were fantastic. And I love the human... what's his name that played Jameson? He's from Detroit. He was in Whiplash.
I forget his name. I know what you're talking about, though.
He was fantastic as Jameson. They don't really have anybody in the current Spider, but he's still in high school in Homecoming, so he can't really do that because he's not out yet. But I don't know. Ryan, how are you? How excited are you about? I know you're probably fanboying it up about Avengers 4 and Captain Marvel.
Yeah, for
You're
sure.
probably the most excited out of all of us.
I think Captain Marvel's going to be a pretty solid movie.
It's probably going to be pretty good.
I don't really care about the follow-up for it, besides Avengers 4. Really, after Captain Marvel and Avengers 4, I feel like I'm not going to be as emotionally invested.
Are you getting burned out?
Yes. I'm getting a little burned out.
Is everyone getting burned out? Because they're coming out with 2-3 movies a year at this point. It's like they got to slow down because how long can they keep this up for?
I just feel like
And that's the
Avengers
thing.
They're going to be
4
the biggest movie studio in the world for 10 years, and
Yeah.
then no one's going to hear from them for...
Avengers 4 is
Well,
going to be like the last
Then they're
hurrah
just going to
for
bring
me.
the X-Men and Fantastic Four in, but let's be honest, Fantastic Four is gay.
Yeah.
I love Fantastic Four.
Really?
I think they will.
Except for Doctor Doom. He's
Doctor
cool.
Doom. I think
Doctor
Doctor
Doom
Doom
is
is
sweet, but like
Yeah.
Fantastic Four...
You have to do it right. In the comic books, it's awesome. The way they portrayed it in the movies
Yeah.
so far has been very boring and stupid.
Even the
Yeah.
comic, I've read some Fantastic Four comic books, and it was kind of boring. But Reed Richards is kind of a douche, though, in the comics, and like,
Well, he's a super smart.
but
He's just like
Science.
Cyclops. He's a douchebag.
yeah, but like the X-Men are so awesome. Me and Ryan are super huge fans of
I'm
the
a huge
X-Men,
X-Men fan. Yeah.
and yeah, and you are too.
Yeah.
And Sony or 20th Century Fox, not Sony,
Well,
but
Sony owns Venom still. That's gonna be alright.
yeah, but like some of the X-Men movies that have come out have been decent to good, but some of them have been absolute garbage. And
Yeah.
I'm just hoping that they fix it. I mean, Fox is coming out with a second Phoenix story, and I don't know about you, Ryan, but I saw that trailer and I freaking laughed. It looks absolutely terrible.
I don't plan on seeing it.
I'm not
Unless
going.
it's
And
for
I just
free.
don't want the-
Apocalypse was a joke.
Apocalypse.
Yeah.
I don't even have a word for that.
But I mean, the
sucked.
Wolverine
Yeah.
trilogy is better than any of the other X-Men movies. I mean, X-Men Origins. I actually like X-Men Origins. It's not a good movie. I know it's not, but there are things about it I like. But
It's half and half.
it's a crap movie. But there are things about it I like. I mean, it's more of a guilty pleasure for me. But the Wolverine, the Japanese saga, was pretty good, and then Logan was absolutely awesome. But the other X-Men movies are garbage.
Yeah, they're
For the
pretty
most part.
crappy.
Everyone's even like X2 is good. I'm like, is it
No.
though?
Is it though? Is it really?
Because it's not really that good. There's some,
But Lady Deathstrike though.
yeah. There's a few good scenes in there. I mean, Days of Futures Past is pretty good, but outside of that, it's just. I mean, most X-Men movies are crap. So I feel like Kevin Feige will do it right, but how are they going to introduce it now? We're gonna be like, turns out there were mutants here the whole time.
Well,
You
they
just
could-
didn't know about
they
it.
could-
Gotcha.
And someone in the Avengers has been a mutant this whole time, and yeah.
Well, they kind of, I guess, they touch on that with like people like a Luke Cage or Daredevil, or you know, that,
But they don't
these are
mention
smaller
them in the
characters.
movies.
No, but it's,
Yeah, but it's canon though, so
But
like
should X-Men be a TV show instead of a movie?
that'd be cool. I mean,
Yeah.
they did that in the past with like the animated series, and I think the
Well-
animated series is probably one of the best.
And
Yeah.
Legion is currently on FX right now, and that's like an X-Men show. And I heard it's awesome. I haven't seen any of it, but I hear good stuff about
But
it.
all that stuff's canon, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like they
don't
touch
think
upon
Legion
it, but
is,
they don't
but-
touch upon it in the movies, you know? Like,
Yeah.
and I think that's because these characters that you know of, like a Thor or Iron Man or something, they're so high scale where they don't even hear about any of this other shit. You know, they're basically like living at in a box.
We
you know,
don't care
because
about a politician in Harlem. Okay, we're fighting aliens.
They don't give a shit about that.
We're
you know?
fighting, trying to save half the universe. We don't care
And
about.
that's what I mean. Like someone like a Tony Stark, he doesn't give a shit about anybody else but his like team and himself. He doesn't even. He's so rich. All these and they're all on the payroll. Like Thor and all them, they're all on the payroll where they don't hear about.
So
any
they're
of this
just
shit.
gonna say underground mutants.
Basically, and I think it's probably they're gonna set it up where like, oh, there's a lot of people that have extra powers. These
I
people are
just
showing up.
I saw a funny thing. It was like a fan made video online. It showed Magneto fighting the Avengers, and he was just like, "You got a guy in a metal suit, crunch." And then he's like, "Oh, you got a metal hammer? That's cool. You got a metal shield? Oh, that's cool." And it's just like, "Oh, your metal bow? Okay,
well,
flip
it's
it in half."
adamantium, isn't it? Like Captain America's.
Yeah, it's no, it's adamantium.
Yeah, so
But like, it doesn't matter.
he can crush all.
The
that
only
stuff.
person that can kill Wolverine is Magneto.
Yeah.
Well, unless in Logan,
I
but
think I remember they had Hulk gonna fight Magneto. Magneto was like, "You feel really good about beating up a Holocaust victim?" I'm like, Hulk,
Yeah.
doesn't feel comfortable doing this anymore.
yeah, exactly.
That's funny as fuck.
Holocaust survivor, leave me alone.
Poor guy.
I love Magneto's one of my favorite comic book characters of all time. Like, and he's probably one of my favorite mutants of all time. So they've done Magneto somewhat justice so far. I mean, kind of. Michael Fassbender and Ian McKellen, they've been all right, Magnetos, but I've never seen. There's one scene in First Class. I think First Class is a crap movie, even though people say it's good. It's not an MCU movie, but that's definitely overrated. But there's one scene where Michael Fassbender's Magneto goes to like Argentina to fight Nazis, and he like kills like 3 Nazis in a bar, and I just want to see Magneto Nazi Hunter the movie. Where a young Magneto just goes around the world and tracking down and murdering Nazis.
That'd be pretty cool.
That'd be
Yeah.
amazing. And maybe finds a mutant here or there, or maybe turns out a Nazi doctor is actually a mutant or whatever. But like Magneto I want to see a vicious, angry, vengeful Magneto.
Yeah.
Murdering people. Not Ian McKellen, elderly in a wheelchair Magneto. I want to see, I don't know. But so final thoughts, guys.
I think I got it all out.
Me too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess that's our MCU wrap up. We didn't exactly rank them all, but we talked about our best.
It was a nice rundown. It was fun.
It was a good
Oh,
rundown.
sure.
We talked about overrated, underrated, best trilogy, TV shows, and everything. So, I'm excited for what's to come, but I am getting a little burnt out. Like lately, I didn't see Ant-Man 2 in the theater, and
I don't think any of us did.
any of us did. So, and it's hard to keep up with them all. I have a young son, and
And I'm just lazy as hell.
Yeah,
I just
so-
work all the fucking time.
yeah. So all three of us work, so it's hard to catch every single movie that's coming out. Whereas back in the day, one movie a year is a little bit easier. So plus, there's so many. You got the other action movie or the other comic book movies, and then you got other good movies like we want to see. Me and Ryan are horror movie fanatics, so as you see on our channel, I've reviewed like 5 horror movies already,
Yeah.
and we're about to watch Mandy, starring Nicolas Cage, and we're gonna try and do a review after. So hopefully Mandy is sweet because we heard it's crazy as shit. So
Yeah, Hurt's badass. So
yeah,
we'll see
so
what happens.
we're about to go watch that right now. We're about to sign off. So for the 3rd episode of Nerdy and 30, this is Tony.
Justin.
Oh, Ryan.
So we'll see you next, guys. And if you like what you hear, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you later.
Follow
See
on
you.
Twitter.
Out.
Bye.